I drive my car up to the lake as if there's someone to awake. I haven't been to bed for days, I live in a twilight haze. I set my heart to the setting sun, and I hope that no one else has done it. And the drinks are never far, open up the bar. I miss you every single day. I wait until I start your way. I hate the way I'm straight.
Yeah, I think the main reason everyone wears headphones is because Joe Rogan does. Let's face it. But also, it's meant to stop people talking over the top of one another, which I don't know whether that works
I
or
use the talking stick. Have
Oh,
ever
do
heard
you?
about the talking stick?
One of my mates uses that. Him and his partner.
Wow.
Sometimes it's a
Yep.
talking spoon.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Oh, okay, we'll throw it at each other.
Cool. Hey, Janet, thanks for coming in and welcome to our podcast. Now, the introduction I need to sort of give is, I haven't really thought about it too much, but I've recently got into carnivore, as you know, and I've, joined the New Zealand Carnivore group on Facebook and all sorts, and I've been kind of following it, and then I've noticed some real positive comments about a business called Homegrown Primal, which happens to be yours.
It's mine.
That's yours.
That's mine.
Tell us.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And so tell us a little bit about your past and how you entered into it, because everyone's got a story around this, eh?
I think the story makes it, actually, because you get to know the person behind the brand, and that's really important for me. So, I don't know, Homegrown's 4 years old, and my partner Marty and I have been carnivore for about nearly 7 years.
Right.
And it came about by a friend of mine who, we'd been keto. I've also been in the fitness industry for a long time, so I used to teach aerobics classes and weight classes and be a personal trainer, and so diet was really important to me. So I thought, okay, so let's do keto, let's do low carb, and see how that goes. And we were keto together for quite a while, and then my friend Lee said to me, we've gone carnivore, and I'm like, really? What does that mean? All I could visualise was blood coming out. I'm like, that's not, that doesn't sound right. So we spent a Christmas with them in Queenstown and just ate meat. And we were like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And so the things that keto didn't work for me was I still had low-grade fatigue, and I still was carting around. Like, I always had a little bit of extra weight that I just couldn't move at all. And Marty came out of competitive cycling, and he was always lean and you could never fill him up. So he was just eating all the time, could never get full. We went to carnivore, and he put on 10 kilos, and I lost 10.
Yeah.
We were pretty much eating the same food. So that showed me that the diet is so evolutionary specific for humans, because it kind of equalised, and it was amazing. And I was, it was just amazing. And so from that, we started following people like Rogan and Jordan Peterson, who's a carnivore. And there's a lot of people on socials who are doing it.
That's right. Well, and Peterson's daughter Michaela and Sean Baker, obviously, and the other chap in Perth way, I think he's in
Dr.
Perth?
Chafee.
Yeah.
He's my...
Yep.
Yeah, he's
that it's pretty inspiring. And it's a paradigm shift, right? It's kind of... I don't know whether you could say it's transcendent, but when you try it, and I sort of have kind of encouraged a few people to do it, and it's kind of a case of just try it for a couple of weeks, just try it for 1 week, just try it for 2 weeks, see what happens.
Yeah.
Because that was all it took for me, and I really didn't know what I was doing.
So
that doesn't sound good.
What changed first for you? What was the big aha?
So physically I had energy which was stable throughout the day. I didn't have any crashes. I wasn't dashing to the pantry to stuff my face full of carbs or sugar. I was waking up in the morning feeling empty, but not hungry. And I was no longer bloated, and I didn't even know I was bloated beforehand. And then finally, I think it was just, my mind suddenly caught up with all of those physical things, and then that's almost the transcendent thing. It's just like, wow. In actual fact, I couldn't have understood this had I have not done it. Yeah,
it's amazing, isn't it? Because Paul Saladino, another guy who's in the space, talks about it as an evolutionarily appropriate diet. So what I noticed first was my brain fog lifted.
Right, yep.
And I started to get sharp, and I never thought that I was a very smart person. I used to think, so many other people who are smarter than me, but I remember shit now. Like I've got, my brain is on, and I can flow through conversation, I can remember stuff, I can read scientific text and remember it, and it was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Because how many people, especially women who are going into menopause, there's the brain fog thing that just does happen.
Yeah, actually, I did experience the keto flu thing in the first couple of days. Do you remember, Milton? I came in and it was kind of funny, right? It's kind of funny when you just start eating meat and you tell, like I just told everyone, and everyone obviously thinks you're crazy. You think you're crazy, and then I just said, I feel awful.
And it was like that for me too. It took me. I remember just going, I'm not going to survive this.
Yeah. So
I'm going to die.
Yeah. About 2 days in, I think I had the keto flu, which I didn't really know anything about. And I experienced a lot of brain fog. And then all of a sudden I came out of it. And it was just like, whoa, what is this new world?
Yeah, exactly. And it took me probably 2 months to do that transition.
Yeah.
I'd lie in bed at night going, I think I'm going to die.
2 months is a long time.
It's a long time.
Janet.
Yeah.
Well done for persevering.
Maybe it's a female thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm 62 and female bodies kind of change from mid-50s or 50s depending on the woman. And it was good. And a lot of it was changing the mindset.
Yeah.
And I probably, like you, I've done all sorts of different things. I've done the raw diet, I've done the vegetarian diet, and it's like...
Well, Janet, I haven't. I am and was a notoriously unhealthy person, and I didn't care about diet, and I just didn't really... It didn't concern me. So that's why I also feel quite out of place in a community that is quite, passionate about all of these things. And a lot of them have fitness backgrounds.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm sort of didn't have any of that, but I still love it all the same.
I think you're just an example of the many varied people who are trying this diet and loving it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Totally. So, Janet, now let's not just talk about the carnivore diet.
Okay.
So, and how then did you begin, and how did Homegrown Primal... Yeah, how did that start?
So we followed, I think we picked up Saladino quite early on and thought, we've got to eat organs. And we were eating liver, organs that I could get my hands on, but they're very hard to find because they have been relegated to the pet food aisles in the supermarket. And they were 4 years ago. And they're not so much now. I think people are realising that the organs are really significant. And... I looked at Saladino and what he was doing, and I think he just had started doing his company. There was another guy, Brian Johnson, who owns Ancestral Supplements, both American companies, both sourcing New Zealand organ powders.
Yeah.
And so I got online and went, okay, so how do we get the organs freeze-dried? And I met this amazing woman who owns a lab. She calls it a lab in a freeze-drying company in the Wairarapa. And she said, it's easy. We'll just give you some powder.
Yeah.
And so we bought 10 kilos of powder, and a friend of mine who lives in Sumner, Sarah Harding, is the most amazing graphic designer. She I floated the idea with her. She came up with the most amazing logo. She looked at a photo of Lake Tekapo and used all the colours, and then created our labels. And I think we had Boost and the organ mix, and we also got some brain from this woman in the Wairarapa. And so we had three different products, and we had a small amount of powder. And I said to Marty, well, you know, if we don't sell it, we'll have a lifetime supply. And that's the rest is history, really.
So you began with just sort of powders that you would scoop, and then have you moved over to capsules?
No,
or
we
you
encapsulated
started with
Yeah,
capsules
because it
straight away?
tastes disgusting.
Right.
Freeze-dried liver. But having it every day in a capsule is just, I believe, gives you a foundation for a platform for health. So it's a good platform, you know, you're getting all your vitamins and minerals and peptides and things that are really important to make your brain work properly, and so your energy systems function, and
So I looked up what the industry was worth, like the global supplement industry, because I don't know, I was just kind of interested in it, and they reckon it's worth 149 billion in 2021, and they reckon 240 billion by 2028.
And that's just organ supplement.
No, not just organ. That's just generally the supplement, the global dietary supplement industry. And you know, look, in that industry, there's a lot of plant-based stuff, right? And there's a lot of like that's quite often something which is promoted, whereas you're dealing with something which is 100% animal-based, and I want to go through some of the ingredients you use and all of the products. I've
got a few here.
Oh, cool.
Some I prepared earlier.
Yep.
That's our organ mix.
Okay. Well,
let's do it.
Yeah, let's start with Boost.
Yeah.
Because Boost is 100% liver.
Yep.
Tell me what's so good about liver.
Okay,
why should...
When I say evolutionarily appropriate diet, it's mammalian tissue. So the liver that is in this pot is the same tissue as our liver. And so unlike plant-based supplements where your body has to process the material, this is 100% bioavailable. So you consume it, same with meat, if you consume it, your body can use it straight away. Instead of having to, and I visualise the body going, okay, so there's a little bit of that I can take out of this broccoli plant. So there's fibre, there's sulforaphane that people rave about, and polyphenols in the colour, which is good.
Yep.
There's also things like cyanide in broccoli, which isn't particularly good for you.
No.
So your body has to find all the good stuff out of the bad stuff.
Right.
Whereas if you're taking meat and organs, they are 100% bioavailable to you straight away.
Cool. That's a good way of explaining it. I understand that. I've heard that term before, and I love it when people are able to break down those terms. You know, that jargon that surrounds certain topics, and you're like, wow.
What does that mean?
Another one that you used was and you can talk me through this now, the like supports like, the theory of nutrition around that.
So there was a dentist in the 30s called Weston Price, who looked at indigenous tribes in the Pacific, and I'm not quite sure where else, but he looked at the teeth and he looked at their diet, and he from looking at the teeth, he was looking at the health overall, and he noted that the indigenous tribes would feed the organ of the animal that corresponded to the organ of the human that wasn't functioning. So that's what like supports like means.
Yep.
And further on towards the present day, there has been isotopic tests showing that consuming particular foods like organs, the essential peptides go to that organ. And like we know with the brain that if we're taking brain, we're getting myelin sheath support and brain support because it's the same tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those building blocks are already they're going in. Yeah.
And it makes sense. Like you know, if you look at the Hadza, I know that Saladinos spend a lot of time there.
Right.
The organs are really prized. And if you look at the apex carnivore predators, they go for the organs.
Yes.
And they open the carcass up and they go for the heart and the liver. And
I think, Milton, you mentioned that the other day when we were just chatting, didn't you, about what was it?
Might have been the killer whales going for taking up the liver of, I don't know, whale sharks or big sharks or something like that.
It's instinctive.
But straight for the liver.
Instinctive, because the liver's so nutrient dense. So this has all the B vitamins in it.
Right.
It's got everything in it that you need. So, and you don't have to take it if you're on a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet. And I know those people do supplement heavily because they need to.
Yeah.
They need a broad range of supplementation. Whereas if you were just going to have liver, you're getting everything. So all the B12s, things like copper and still early in the morning.
So,
my brain's not working very well. So copper
it is
and
rough,
selenium and zinc, which are really important, and also
minerals
a
and
product called choline, which helps with the methylation, which helps with the energy transfer from the food to the energy.
That was one of my questions. I don't know whether we'll deal with it just yet, but I'll try to remember that. So that is Boost, 100% bovine liver, and it's all. So the reason why, New Zealand beef organs are prized is because it's grass fed, and in America, a lot of the cattle are grain fed, and
they're feedlot
just
cattle,
not
and a lot of what they do is they grass feed into the last 3 months, then they grain fed. So the difference between, is this what you're going to ask me?
No, tell me.
Okay,
Yeah.
So grain,
is
a grain and the fat that is produced by consuming grain, and this is what happens in humans as well. It's a high linoleic fat, which is a polyunsaturated fat, which is okay for us in well balanced fat. So if you were going to have tallow, for example, or beef fat, that has a beautiful cross section of fats which are 100% bioavailable. So we have saturated fat. So we have saturated fat that much and polyunsaturated fat that much, and it's very stable. But with things like linoleic acid, which is polyunsaturated, it's unstable. And if the animal is eating it, the same with our pork industry, because they're very much grain fed, the contents of their fat is higher in linoleic acid than a grass-fed animal.
Yeah. Cool. So, I've done a little bit of research into that, not a huge amount. I do. I've noticed a lot of talk around seeds, and seed oils and stuff. And
so what happens with the polyunsaturated fats is they're unstable and they oxidize really easily. And if we're eating oxidized fats, it's really toxic to our body. And if you just have to have a look at a cross section of our population, down at the bus exchange, on the beach, in the supermarket, we are a really sick, unhealthy population because of these polyunsaturated fats in our diet, and they're everywhere.
Well, part of the illusion that I was under, or delusion, was that I was quite a slim person and I didn't have a good diet, and I sort of just assumed that I did have a good diet because I was slim, but it had nothing to do with that. It was just by virtue of metabolism or something or other, I don't know. But I'm, and so I think I fell into that category, and I just didn't realise. I thought I had a balanced diet, but I could my balance was eat anything.
You can, you don't have to be overweight to be unhealthy.
No, so it's that internal, the fatty liver and all of those other things. And man, I'm so pleased that I've made the transition, because I think, I think there are, you know, there's you can go through life and suddenly cancer can pop out around the corner, and people question themselves and their choices. And often, I think it's the slimmer, kind of more healthy people that struggle with it because they're like, I did everything right.
Yeah.
But now I'm beginning to see that I wasn't doing anything right. And I wasn't doing anything that was preventative in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of studies in the field now. Anthony Chaffee's book, Why Are We Carnivores? It's got a wealth of information and heaps of references in the book. If anyone wants to get hold of that book and read it for support.
Yeah.
And there's a few. What I do usually with my socials is I do a thematic month or 2 months, and we've been reading his book and talking about it.
Yeah.
So it's really useful. So can we go back to the grass-fed?
Well, yes, let's go back to the grass-fed, and then we'll go back to the next supplement, which is Thrive.
Okay.
But let's go back to the grass-fed.
So we were headhunted by the most amazing company in New Zealand that produces the first cross Wagyu beef on grass. So mostly Wagyu. It's really marbled, really high-fat marbled. They're grain-fed, and the DNA, the genetics for this cattle breed are sourced from Japan. First Light Farms use that DNA and put it across our grass-fed cattle, and so they have their First Light Farms meat, which is first cross Wagyu, on grass, and they're an amazing company. So they rang me one morning and said, like, we want to talk to you. So we now have this amazing relationship with them, and they provide all our organs. So we know, like, they're regeneratively farmed, grass-fed and certified humane. Most of their meat goes into the United States, and we have their organs, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating, just trying to get my head around it, thinking about all of those, like what would have happened to it, what happens to the large, like how does it break down, all of that stuff? Where does it usually go? Does it go into pet food? Does it go into other products around the place? Like now it's being used in the supplement industry pretty hardcore.
They're very hard to get. And we're, so thankful that we've got First Light Farms. So what happens on the chain, and through COVID, it was very, because the labour force was reduced and people got sick with COVID, a lot of the organs, and you've got to remember that our industry's changed over the last 4 years to being, to that the organs are really valued, but 4 years ago they were pet food. So and then we had COVID, and then the supply chain got really difficult because there was no one to pull the organs out of the animals, and they just went into the pet food chute. But if you imagine that you've got a carcass on the hook and all its organs there, I know it's a pretty gross thing to think about, but there are things like the big organs that are really easy to get. So the butchers can just go, we'll take the liver and we'll take the heart because we can find them, and the kidneys come out. Then there's things like adrenal glands, which are sitting on the kidneys, the thyroid, the trachea, and the brain also, because we use the brain. That's another step on the chain. So every step to get the smaller organs costs a whole lot more.
I see.
And it might take one specific person to be there going, I'm here just for the thyroid. And New Zealand beef and pork thyroid are prized for across the world in the glandular industry.
Look, I mean, it's such a valuable resource that can't be underestimated, and it's horrifying to think that it would just all be thrown away or fed to animals and stuff. And I mean, a large amount of that money, the cow, look, I don't know the ratio or the proportion or anything, but I mean, all of the organs and the entrails and stuff, that's like 50% of what you've been growing, probably, you know, pouring your money into, not just the meat, like everything else grows, so why not use it? Hey, let's go back to Thrive. So Thrive, you've got heart, liver, kidney, spleen and pancreas.
Yes.
That's almost like your multivitamin,
it is.
right?
It's a multi, it is definitely a multi, because it's got heart, liver and kidney. They're the big ones. And the heart is prized for its CoQ10, which is essential for most people, everybody.
Anyone who has a heart.
Yeah. It also works with. No, I can't remember.
I grew up on a little block of land, 10 acres outside Christchurch. My parents were from the UK, and they got some sheep. They didn't know what they're doing, but it ended up. Eventually, they got taught. And they started butchering them and stuff. So I grew up eating heart and liver and kidneys and things. But I never ate spleen or pancreas.
Right. Okay.
So tell us about the spleen and the pancreas.
In the body, the spleen is responsible for your immunity. And it's high in iron, heme iron. So it's really, really good for people who are anemic. So we've got a Blood Plus product that's super duper high in iron.
Yep.
And the pancreas is responsible for your sugar, your insulin response.
Yeah.
So again, like supports like, if I'm going to have that product in my body, I'm going to have a healthy, healthy pancreas and a healthy spleen. My immunity is going to be great. My ability to release insulin and have a healthy pancreas is going to work. It sounds like witch doctor-y really, but it works.
No, I get it. So those were the two ingredients in that one, which I wasn't too familiar with. That's not more, you know.
I had a person email me the other day about pancreatitis.
Yes.
And they've started taking Thrive to support their pancreas.
Yep. I have heard of problems with the pancreas. Yeah, because it is. What did you say? It produces the insulin.
Yep.
And obviously, in our Western diet, when we're eating heaps of sugar and carbs, we become insulin resistant
because you're spiking it all the time.
Yeah. And I didn't know any of this a few months ago. I had no idea, and I still don't fully know. But
Chafee talks about how bad insulin is in the diet. Because it's so toxic, and if it's present a lot, things like testosterone production, your steroid hormones plummet. So, and it was probably 20 years ago when I was in the fitness industry. They were, we were told to eat 6 small meals a day because they were carb loaded, and we spiked a lot.
Yeah.
So when you are eating carbohydrates, it's like kindling.
Yeah. Do you follow that guy, Eddie Abnew, in the UK?
No.
He's a former bodybuilder, and he has, he's been getting... I think he's somewhere between 2 and 3 million followers. And he's kind of cracking up because...
wow, that's a lot of followers.
And he's sort of... he's gaining like 300,000 in 1 week.
Wow.
And he's telling people just to eat eggs and stop eating all this crap. And that's real fascinating. It related to a point you just made, which I completely forgot. Eddie Abnew or something or other. Yeah. Anyway, won't get distracted with that.
Write that down.
But he is quite cool.
Yeah.
And he he's just real upfront about it all. Hey, so now let's head on into kiwi burn.
Yes.
So that is suet.
It's just
which has been made into tallow. Tell me about that.
So this is I look really lovingly at my pots because I just think they're amazing. So remember we earlier talked about the products that are in the United States. Mm-hmm. And so we've met one of their suppliers here in New Zealand, and he rang a couple of years ago and goes, I've got a whole lot of tallow capsules that are left over from an order that went to the States. And I went, well, of course I'll take it. Mm-hmm. And so we created Kiwi Burn. Mm-hmm. And It's not expensive. It's like $28 for a month, and it's our biggest seller.
Yeah,
because it works. It's
so
amazing.
And tell me, why do people take it? Why do people eat?
Remember, we had that
fat?
conversation about linoleic acid and what happens in the body with lipocytes in the body. If they aren't fed with the right sort of fat, the mitochondria die.
Yeah.
And the lipocytes they just increase in size with a dead mitochondria or a malfunctioning mitochondria in them, because they're not getting fed the proper food. The studies with dietary stearic acid, which is what the suet has, it actually kickstarts the mitochondria again.
Right.
So people are finding that when they add suet, and it's specifically suet, which is the fat around the kidneys, which looks really different to ordinary meat fat.
Yeah.
It's very yellow and it's sort of globular.
Yeah, yeah.
In little pockets, and their mitochondria kickstarts and they start losing weight. So a lot of people who are on this, some people don't have any changes at all, and I'm not quite sure of the science around it, but a lot of people use it to help them trim down the extra fat, because their mitochondria start working again, and they call it, in the studies they call it fusion. So the mitochondria start, maybe they split so there's more than one in each cell, and they start working. And people are finding that they've got a whole lot more energy, and they're losing body fat.
And that's one of those shifts which you almost have to make in your mind, because we've been indoctrinated to think fat makes you fat. But like I still remember when I started eating chunks of butter and stuff, and it was just like, what? This is crazy.
It is so contrary to everything that we've been taught. So we're coming out of 50 years of saturated fat is bad.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's that one. And we were at a party on Saturday night in Christchurch, and I was talking to this guy who
Popping supplements,
yeah. Not that time, actually. Anyway, he said to me, and I didn't tell him who I was, and he said, quite a large man, he said, I've been using this product, it's called Kiwi Burn, and my fat has changed. And he said, my stomach's dropped down. And I'm like, did you know that's our company? And he was like, oh my God, that's just amazing. He said, I'm on my third pot. It's freaking awesome. And his goal is to lose weight, and he's using that as a tool.
Has he changed his diet as well, or is he just?
Yeah, he's gone to animal based.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah. So if you're looking to have some amazing fat loss, it's not a miracle pill. I think you still have to change what goes in your mouth, especially the toxic foods, which are nuts, grains, seeds, and legumes. Yeah, because they just contain
all of the processed
food.
Yeah.
And we can survive on meat and fat.
Yeah. I know. It's
and survive well.
Yeah. Okay. What about manpower? Now, in manpower, you've got testes, heart, and liver.
Yep.
So cow's balls. I don't know what to say.
One of the
how does that help?
One of the things in modern society is our lack of testosterone.
Yeah.
And men are really losing themselves in confusion around what to eat and stress, and again, if you use the like supports like philosophy, having testes or having any kind of gland in your food will help you support your testosterone production. Yeah. So with our woman's product, we have ovaries.
That's right. And funnily enough, I said to Milton, if men have the testes, I wonder if women have the ovaries. Yeah. And we kind of thought, nah. But then you do. You have the ovaries and the placenta, uterine tissue, spleen, and even some mammary tissue in there.
It's amazing. And every day there's a story from somebody who's been using it who tells me, I've just got pregnant. Mm-hmm. My menopausal symptoms have stopped. My brain fog's gone. And when one one of my friends who first started using Mojo, she was like, I feel my boobs have got bigger. So everyone's different. But let's get back to the manpower.
Yep.
It's got heart in it, which is CoQ10, which works synergistically with testosterone, and it's also got liver in it. So it's really good for men. Really good for men. Tell me about your male friends. What are they suffering with?
Well, look, I have not done any tests myself, so I don't know where I stand on any of that information, like cholesterol and all that kind of stuff, or testosterone for that matter. But I have heard of stories recently, talking to people about this more. One person in particular, their father-in-law was feeling really bad, ended up going to see an endocrinologist, and was diagnosed with, the testosterone of a teenage girl, and or wasn't diagnosed, just tested for it, and
because menopausal women have got quite a bit.
Oh right, well, I don't know how it all operates, but it was low, and they have started addressing it, and and I'm not too sure how they are, but I do recognise that it's a problem, I mean. So
if you are a carb eater and a plant, you have a lot of plants in your diet, and you're spiking your insulin a lot, you're going to drop your testosterone. And really, women who are looking at men as a potential partner, or looking at the other side of the fence, looking at our men, I feel like our men have got really light and ungrounded and losing themselves and are confused and don't know actually where to turn for food and support. So that's all part of it. Having a good testosterone level in your body gives you a really amazing sense of who you are. Look, I think you're right, and we just do not eat stuff that is food. Half of the stuff that's in the supermarket, if not more, 90% of the stuff in the supermarket isn't even food. It's not. It's got, like this guy Eddie Abnew says, the bread has 19 ingredients in it. Bread's only supposed to have 4 ingredients, guys. Don't eat this crap. No. Just look at the labels, and I encourage people just to look at labels all the time. Even those wraps. Have a look at the ingredients on the wraps. If it's got canola oil in it, walk away.
And you're because obviously industries spring up around things, and I've noticed there's keto this, there's keto that.
Everything.
I'm pleased. I sort of skipped keto, but I recognise a lot of people started with keto before they got into carnivore. I kind of skipped it, and I'm pleased that I did because, well, it's just not my personality.
I think you can do keto without the processed food. And I think that's important. There's a lot of studies on neurological diseases and keto, Alzheimer's, dementia, epilepsy, treated with a ketogenic diet. And and if you think about, and I call it ancestral eating, if you think about all the foods that are available to you that aren't processed, you can easily be ketogenic. Easily. Without being sucked into the big food. I've got to go to the supermarket and go to the keto line and buy all that stuff in a packet.
That's right. The industry is very quick to the so-called processed food industry or whatever. They're very quick to jump on a trend and make money out of it. Now, one of the ones we haven't talked about is Restore. That's got bovine trachea in it. Tell me about that one.
Remember that there's the collagen industry is massive. And you think about all the different companies that are doing collagen, which is fantastic. And we've got a number of companies in New Zealand who are using collagen. There's Mitchell's and there's Dose & Co. and a number of others. The collagen that they use is type 1 and 3, which is hooves and hides. And that is a skin collagen. And there's lots of different types of collagen. Our placenta has collagen in it as well. Tracheal tissue is type 2 collagen, and it targets the internal liquid highway, so all your fascia and ligaments and veins. There was a guy in the 60s, Dr. John Pruden, who studied tracheal tissue and wound healing, and his study shows that he used powdered trachea on wounds and they closed before his eyes. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. So taking it for injuries like Achilles or knee problems or sore joints has been really beneficial for a lot of people. And that the trachea sits in the windpipe as well. And it's quite a hard, gristly kind of piece.
Right.
And we break it down enzymatically with we call it hydrolyzed. And so once it's broken down, then it's freeze-dried and milled and then encapsulated. So it's really 100% bioavailable again.
So was he applying it, the guy that closed the wounds, was he applying it topically?
Yeah.
I see.
Amazing.
That's cool.
An animal can produce something that we can...
That's right. And you're covering all the bases, because quite often in the supplement industry or whatever, all of those, when you walk into the chemist warehouse, whatever it is, there is one particularly for joint pain. Like that seems to be a big area.
Yeah.
So is that your product which kind of deals to that type of thing?
Yes.
Restore.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
so that's our collagen.
Yeah. And ignition, that one's the brain, and it said also including the hypothalamus.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of like, what's that?
So if you think about, that's part of the brain. If you think about the glands inside the brain, like the pineal gland, we don't have the pineal gland in ours, and the pituitary is also in the brain as well. So we don't have those. We just have just the brain tissue, and the hypothalamus is the back part of the brain.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what that does.
No, that's okay. Well, I've heard of the hippocampus.
Yeah.
But that's is that below the pituitary gland or above it? I can't remember.
I don't know.
But it does work in conjunction with it, I think.
Yeah.
I think it stores memories and stuff. But I was like, hypo.
I don't know what that is.
But the brain, yeah.
The brain.
I feel like I might purchase some of that.
I've been on it for 4 years.
Yeah.
My friend in the Wairarapa had already bottled up small pots of brain, and she said, "Look, the person who wanted it is not taking it now." So we labelled it and sold it, and I've been taking it ever since. It's amazing. It is really my go-to.
Yeah.
Well, it's got here, Dave. The hypothalamus coordinates the autonomic nervous system.
Ooh.
So there you go. That's pretty big.
Yep.
Body temperature, homeostasis.
So it's all good stuff, right?
Yeah.
You need it.
So it's a major system.
Yeah, and we've been talking about that a lot lately.
Yeah.
And also, when you talk about the brain, I remember when I got my first job, it was working for Watties, and I was just in this big warehouse, just doing a pretty miserable job. But I remember seeing out the back in one of the storerooms, there was a big pile of cartons, which were just kind of printed, but they hadn't been cut out, and it was for brain.
Oh,
and
really?
it was kind of like... It was just like a pile of disused cartons, and I don't know what we were going to use them for eventually, but... and that used to be something that used to be consumed, right?
I remember doing my cooking course at Polytech in 2010, and we cooked up lamb's brains, and the tutors said, this class is the last class that's going to be doing this because people just don't do it anymore. And so, the same with our butchery course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Think about my grandmother's generation. So she was born in 1917, and they were really resourceful back then, and they used to cook everything.
Yeah.
But what happened in COVID, and brain tissue is really hard to get now because the guys on the chain, we don't have head splitting. I know it sounds pretty gruesome, but no one splits the heads anymore.
Come out, yeah.
Yep.
So the brains are just toothed out, which is really sad because it's such an important organ.
In the old cookbooks, there's brawn.
Yeah.
Brawn and all
That's
that sort of
right.
stuff.
Pig's heads, yeah.
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 You should. That reminds me of the Pet Shop Boys song.
Oh no, we're going to get distracted
I've
now.
got the
We're off.
brain, or you've got the brawn. Hey,
Oh, yeah.
what about that? And also the Alone series. The Alone series. They, the hunter and gatherers and stuff, and they go out there and they were in the wilderness for 100 days or whatever. The guy that survived, he managed to kill a muskox, and I shouldn't say survived. The guy that won, they all survived. He used brain as he used it on his hands because it was really oily, and he also used it on his face as a sort of a moisturiser and a protect against windburn and sunburn.
Wow. Yeah, because it's all fat.
Yeah. And
It's
he
all the right
even
sort of fat.
he used it on his hands, and he used it on his leather gloves to make them kind of supple again.
Wow.
To stop them from drying out. But it was so cool to see it being like his knowledge of it and just using it in the way that things can be used.
So he wouldn't have
Yeah.
survived if he was just eating plants.
Oh,
right?
no. The berry guys dropped off pretty quick. I mean, they were catching rabbits as well, but if you're out in the wild,
Fat, you need to find something that's very fat.
you need to find an animal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be hunting for blackberries.
Not for long term anyway.
But-
Maybe on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah, my dad used to work in the abattoir on the chain during the lamb season, and he would bring back home big bags of the thyroid glands.
Right.
Just the big bags, plastic bags full of thyroid glands.
The thymus.
Is it the thymus?
The thymus.
Yeah, thymus.
So that's sweetbreads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 And they're very tasty.
They're really good. They taste
Yeah.
like oysters.
Yeah, they've got that flavour.
Yeah. So thymus is also part of our immune system, and our thymus reduces in size as we age. So it's important as for all the young animals, the lambs will have it. Yeah.
that's right. Well, we haven't talked about the thyroid.
thymus.
But I think
Yes, it's the thymus.
We don't have a thymus product
Yeah.
because I believe that we
Oh.
can get thymus from the butcher. I know Allied
Yeah.
do have a thymus.
Also,
product.
that's different to the thyroid and
Yes.
liver product you've
Yep.
got?
Yep.
Right, okay.
Thymus is
yeah.
like a little floury gland,
Yeah.
and the thyroid sits below it, I think, on the trachea.
We've learned something this morning.
Yeah,
Yeah. So which is the sweetbreads?
thymus.
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 Yeah,
And-
and a lot of people used to think it was brain. It's actually not brain. It's thymus.
Have you ever eaten brain? Since you've been on this journey, have you ever eaten any of these products?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
just straight out of...
I haven't eaten the brain.
No?
I love kidneys,
Yeah.
beef or
Yeah.
lamb kidneys, sheep kidneys, heart.
Yeah.
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 Not placenta or ovaries or anything.
No.
I'd rather have that freeze dried.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because the sweetbread thing, I'm wondering,
I love sweetbread.
like, why is it called sweetbread? Is it sweet?
Because it's sweet. It actually looks
right.
like an oyster. So when we do, if we have a dinner party,
Yeah.
we'll do some thymus fried in a barbecue, maybe some chicken hearts, which are really cool,
Yeah.
and lots of steak and mussels.
Awesome.
It's really good to be. And when we first started carnivore, I always say, if we're inviting people for dinner, you need to bring your vegetables because we don't cook them. And so if they want to bring their vegetables, they do.
Yeah.
But our friends have slowly come around to, a lot of them have gone animal-based.
Yeah. Oh, how
now.
exciting.
It's really cool.
That's
Really
cool. Yeah. The chicken hearts. I can see a cookbook in the future because I would love to know how to cook chicken hearts. So
Yeah.
do you, when you say you barbecue them, or is it
Yep.
just in butter, or
Yep.
how?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah.
I went to Splore a couple of years ago, and there was a Brazilian barbecue there, and they had chicken hearts on skewers.
Oh wow.
And they were so good. They
Yeah.
were so good. They're really beautiful to eat.
Yeah. Well, when we go on holiday, we often go to the Marlborough Sounds, and this is slightly different, but we catch blue cod, and my father-in-law will always reserve some of the liver, the blue cod liver. And that's, I suppose, chicken hearts.
delicacy.
It's a sort of,
Yeah.
it is. It kind of is. Yeah.
I really like cod livers. You can get them in the supermarket in
Oh, you can?
their own oil. I think they come from the Northern Hemisphere. They're called the Diplomat's cod livers.
Is that right?
Ah.
Oh my god,
That's a cool name.
So good.
Yeah, it
is.
So good.
I've watched people on survival shows, catching fish and eating the liver, just raw out of the fish.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, liver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do. It's good.
And finally, I didn't mention all of them, but I think we covered all the ingredients there. The blood one. Let's talk about the blood one.
So a lot of people in the world, in New Zealand, in our world, are anemic.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting the right iron source. And to get lots of iron, you have to eat a lot of spinach. And with spinach, there's a lot of oxalates as well. So it's really toxic. So don't ever eat spinach ever because it's so toxic. And anemia is a big thing in New Zealand and Australia because that's our audience, those are our customers.
Yeah.
And spleen and blood and liver mixed together provide an amazing support for people who are low in iron.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it's good iron, it's heme iron, which is 100% bioavailable.
Cool.
So a lot of people are going for blood, the blood plus, and really improving their iron levels. So another thing about us as a healthy species, if people are wanting to change their diet and are intrigued about what we're doing, I really encourage everyone to get a blood panel done.
Right.
So that they can look at their iron and they look at their thyroid levels and their testosterone levels. And it gives a good base. So once you know where your health is from your blood panel, then you can target what you want. Like if I'm low in vitamin A or my hormones, I know what to do. Yeah, it's a really important thing to do.
Yeah, that's something I haven't done, and I've kind of been wondering about it, but because I've never really been into healthy things, I don't know, I just let it slide.
And we're all aging as well, right?
But you what? We're
all aging.
Yeah,
we've got to start supporting it.
Well, one of the things I love about the carnivore thing is it is really an intuitive, and you're listening to your body and how you respond. That's something which was an education in itself as well, which I never really, And our guest last week, Bianca Smeeks, she said she believes the body does speak to us, and if we're not listening, well, we don't hear, and sometimes the body ends up shouting at us, you've got a problem over here.
Yeah,
and,
well,
blah, blah, blah.
you continually, you're not targeting the pain properly, and your body's continually going, well, look, I've got a sore leg.
Yeah,
I've got a sore leg. You're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there actually is more products. There's your cat and dog supplements.
We had,
is that what you call them?
Yeah, we had a while ago when we first started. We got a private bin. No, what was it? I called it a lucky dip from a butchery, an abattoir in North Canterbury, and they gave us a lot of everything, like liver and kidneys, and there was a lot of lung in there as well. And we had some left over, and it has a 3-year expiry date. And I went, there's still a lot of lung here, and we're sort of fast approaching the third, the expiry date. And I decided to just put it all together and make some animal powders.
Yeah.
So they've got the first light liver.
Yeah.
And an organ mix as well. It's not really because a lot of our customers were using their products, our Homegrown Primal products, for their pets. So that's what we did. Made powders to sprinkle on.
That's awesome.
Yep. And again, Sarah came up with Homegrown Hounds and did the logo. And
Yeah, no, I do like the branding. I love that. It's kind of like that watery colour sort of...
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah, I love it.
Jingling the sign behind me. Thanks, Jen, for coming in. Now,
okay.
I don't know if I need to show you the menu.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and sit on the bike at the gym.
Well, you're more than welcome to, but I did especially bring in some bacon from the Horsewell Butcher. However, don't feel like you have to have some. But I know... as I've been on this journey, started off with supermarket stuff, and I've gradually migrated towards different butchers around the place and realised how much better the meat quality is. Everyday Butchery and the Halls were one of my tend to be my go-tos.
So, Janet, can you tell us a little bit about your, like when you eat during the day and working with the circadian rhythms?
Absolutely. I'm generally an early riser, so I like to get up and I'll do some kind of movement. Like, I'm really into Kundalini yoga, so I'll sit and do some breath work and have a cold shower or swim most days. And I don't generally eat until about 11, 12, 1 o'clock. That's when I start. Because with the meat-based diet, it's so nutrient-dense, you're just not hungry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things we didn't talk about is your hunger signals change, don't they? They're not
And
a
also
rumbling tummy.
Relationship with food changes as well.
Yeah.
For me, like it's now, it's now about nourishment. Like, what does my body need? And I'm going to have a steak, or I'm going to have an eggs, or I generally eat eggs about 12 o'clock, scrambled with lots of butter.
Yeah. Yep. Look, I'm sort of somewhat similar. I come here, I start in the morning, sort of from 6 to sort of 9 o'clock, and then by the time I get home, sometimes it's 10:30 or 11, and that's when I'll have my first meal of the day. Yeah,
it's really good. And I think when you're carb based, there's a whole lot of reliance on my food, and a lot of people that I've found are obsessed with what they're going to eat. You know, I've got to make sure that I've got all the right food, and if I'm not organised, I'm going to go and sit and make some bad choices.
Yeah.
It's
It's just incredibly simple. This way of eating, I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in and talking to me more about this, because I've been dying to get someone on who's on the same wavelength and all that type of thing. And I love your products, and
I'm loving the journey as well with this, because I've found it's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's never ending. There's new stuff happening. There's some insane. Like Sean Baker was back on Rogan not long ago, and he was talking about some more studies coming out on cholesterol, like more specifically kind of honing it down, because, you know, obviously the things that come up are cholesterol, fibre, and I don't know,
What's
scurvy.
going to happen to my cholesterol, and where do you get your fibre from? Well, you don't need fibre
I know.
at all.
Janet, one of the things, I can take this on at the very end, one of the things that happened to me, I was developing hemorrhoids, and they're gone. Like, fibre was the cause of them, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very aggressive in the gut, fibre.
Yeah.
So either people are constipated or they have gut issues with fibre.
Well, yeah. Funnily enough, before I got into carnivore, sorry, Jenna, I keep on cutting you off.
Talk about it.
I'm too excited. I have a friend that was quite ill, and she was seeing a community dietitian, and like I say, I had no idea about food, and she told me about fibre. She goes, most people don't get enough fibre. And I went on this big fibre kick, and I bought the all-brand crap. And
it makes my stomach
I was eating
ache
tons of
just
it.
thinking about
I was just eating tons of it.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd found something. I was like, wow, it's not enough fibre.
Yeah.
But now I've totally gone 180 degrees again, and there's no fibre, and it's so much better.
So much better.
Yeah.
Before I went carnivore, I used to have that rush. You know, like if I've eaten something and now I've got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Don't have that anymore. My gut feels really calm and nurtured.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks
so much more we could talk about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Janet. Thanks for coming in.
Okay.
See ya.
Thank you.